You recently produced in this impact assessment for the UK, and you got a lot of criticism for that. Why was that?
Well, I think, unfortunately, too many people have actually just picked the bits that they feel they want to pick from it. Whereas in actual fact we tried to do an all-encompassing impact assessment from both the position that the Commission were making and also the position that the European Parliament were coming from. And this has to be remembered, this was all at the first reading stage. So we had the first proposal from the Commission and we had the first series of amendments from the Parliament. And what we did was took away all of those proposals, and we very clearly outlined, if you look on the website, if you actually look at the impact assessment, we very clearly outlined how we chose the active substances that we used. And basically it is all of those where we knew we could get substantiated scientific evidence from the review draft assessment report. And it's that data that we've used. The problem is that what we came out with, the bottom line with the Commission proposal is that potentially, and it's made very clear it's potential, that you could lose somewhere around 5% of active substances. This could increase to 15% if all of the substances which demonstrate some form of endocrine activity were then deemed to have an impact on human health. So that's a sort of maximum. So it was 5 to 15. People have completely missed that one, and they've majored on the 85% figure, which it's a good headline. But actually, again, we did it because we felt that the people needed to understand what we interpreted the Parliament were saying. And so the first line, again, we probably actually go to around 40%, but then you then get the rest of them, virtually all of the rest, became candidates for substitution. And the lack of clarity in the Parliament's position indicated that once on the list for substitution, then they would only have one authorisation period. So that's how you ended up with the 85%. Unfortunately, too many people have latched onto that rather than looking at, well, what was the more realistic, in theory, position, provided everybody could hold to that common line.
So that must be a bit frustrating then. You've done this work.
Just a little.
Yeah. And you've got a new one coming out.
Yep.
Okay.
That's our intention now, is that we're looking at the common position that was agreed and then taking the European Parliament's new amendments as a result of the MV Committee's deliberations.
Do you see a similar situation happening again with the figures that are coming out?
No, I don't think now that they've clarified the position on the renewal, the potential for renewal of those on the candidate substitution list, I don't think you will ever get to that level. But it will potentially, the Parliament's position will still could potentially lead to a greater loss than the common position. But the only thing I would say is the one point that I said at the start of my talk, that PSD and all of the other competent authorities throughout Europe are actually independent of the industry. We are speaking on behalf of the people, and it's our job to do the best we can to ensure that people are protected and the environment.